We looked at that verse where it says, our battle is not against flesh and blood. Your fight, even though you're arguing with your spouse, maybe, or with your kids, with your parents, that's not really your fight. It's not with them. So attack the problem, attack the issue, not the person, not the character of the person. I don't remember if it was last Sunday or the Sunday before in the men's Bible study, which tonight's the last one. So those of you who have been coming, I hope to see you tonight. But I shared that we're either going to be reactive or proactive. We're either going to be the thermostat or the thermometer, right? The thermometer just sort of measures the room, right? It's a heated situation. Well, I'm coming in heated. You want some of me? I'll give you some of me, right? That's a thermometer. A thermostat doesn't just read the climate, it changes the climate. A thermostat can affect the atmosphere. Last night was crazy. Last night I was hot. I turned on the AC. Ruth woke me up at 4 a.m. to go sleep with her, and I was like, it's cold. So I had to get on my app to turn from the AC to the heater, and I had to put the heater on for this morning, because if not, I wouldn't have gotten out of bed. I've been so cold, I just want to lay there with my San Marcos, right? And so, that thermostat changes, right? Changes the atmosphere, changes the temperature of the room. And we need to be like that. I was sharing some of the other services that I'm not a grill type of guy. I don't grill. I'll tell you why I don't grill, because I grew up with my brother-in-law Rene, who's here in this service, and he's the griller of the family. Like, he's always grilling. And then I have my concuño is here, Jorge, and he loves to grill. And in last service, my father-in-law was here, and he loves to grill. So why would I grill? Like, why would an amateur come in when you got some pros? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't even own a barbecue pit. Like, I bet if I bought a barbecue pit and I invited my brother-in-law or Jorge or my father-in-law over for some steaks, they wouldn't even let me cook. They would move me aside and start. So there's no need for me to even learn. Like, but over the years, I spent a lot of time with Rene, and I've seen Rene, start off with charcoal and then move from charcoal to wood, and then sometimes even a mixture of wood and charcoal, right? Trying to find that right combination. And one of the things, that fire, that heat begins to lower, and what do you do when that heat begins to lower? Rene would go get like a cardboard or a top of a bucket or something, and he'd start fanning the flame and get heated, right? Some of us, we need to put the dang cardboard down. Like, because there's heat doesn't mean you need to come and fan the flame. Maybe you need to be the extinguisher, right? And cool things down, right? And so the controlling the emotions, staying calm under pressure. I want to share with you 4 things this afternoon as we prepare to finish. Do your best. In my notes, I literally have written down in my notes the hard stuff. All right, because this is hard for Pastor Ruben. I'll tell you, last night I checked in the mirror if I had a black eye or not, because, I done punched myself in the face a few times. First thing, pause before responding. A few seconds of silence can prevent regret. Pause. We don't have to always respond immediately. Sometimes we can say, give me a minute. Next time you're in an argument with your wife, say, you know what? I got to go to the restroom. I'll be back. Pause before responding. Think about what you say. Again, remember, we already talked about it. The moment those words come out, you can't take it back. And sometimes we say things and, man, it just gets elevated, and we're adding to elevating everything when, man, just a pause. Like, hold on. Just wait 1 minute. Go for a drive if you need to. Go outside if you need to. Untie your shoes and tie them again 5 times. Just pause for a minute before responding. The second thing, which is super hard, pray for peace and wisdom. Ask the Holy Spirit to guide your words. Man, can you imagine? Like, I'm not asking this, so nobody raise your hands for any of this, but if I was to ask, how many think it would be a good idea in the middle of an argument to say, you know what, time out, hold on, time out. Go to your closet, pray for a little bit, ask God for peace and wisdom, and then come back and try and de-escalate the situation. If I said, how many think that's a good idea? Everybody would raise their hand. If I asked, how many think you could do it? No one would raise their hand. I mean, look at all of the opposition to that, right? Because the devil don't want you to do that. No, the devil doesn't want you to say, time out, and then go and pray and then come back and do it. What the devil wants is for you to just go and go and go and go, because he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and that's what he wants to do with your marriage, right? Pray for peace, pray for wisdom, you know. Y'all fought last night, you know probably you're going to fight this morning. Before you get out of bed, pray for peace and wisdom. God, I don't want to keep fighting. Right? There's a reel every once in a while I send it to my wife, and it's like, you know, it sucks fighting with your wife, and it's like, dude, you're my best friend. Who else am I going to go to? You know, like, you know. And so we're in the attic. I mean, we're in the basement today, right? And you know, so pause, pray, ask God for peace and wisdom. Redirect the frustration. This is super important. Redirect frustration. Attack the problem, not the person. Attack the problem. Deal with the problem. Don't attack the person. I remember years ago hearing of this counselor who's a psychologist, marriage counselor. And with about a 97% accuracy rate, he could tell if a couple would get a divorce in the next 2-3 years. 97% accurate rate. He could tell that couple, next 2-3 years, they'll get a divorce. Finally, one day his colleagues, they approach him. They're like, how do you know? Like, what's the secret? How do you know? How can you tell? And he goes, oh, it's very simple. I just need to observe them in a disagreement, observe them in a fight. If in the disagreement, in the fight, they're dealing with the situation, then they have a better chance of staying together. But if in the disagreement, in the fight, they're personally attacking each other, you're a loser, you're lazy, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're, you know, a yankety yank, 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 you know, you're just like your dad, my mother-in-law warned me, you know, like, you know, personal attacks, he's like, they're destined for a divorce. So attack the problem, not the person, right? Redirect the frustration. I remember it was last week, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago in Guarding the Family, Guarding the Gates. We looked at that verse where it says, our battle is not against flesh and blood, right? Your fight, even though you're arguing with your spouse, maybe, or with your kids, with your parents, that's not really your fight. It's not with them, right? So attack the problem, attack the issue, not the person, not the character of the person. Okay, this is the last one, and we'll finish with this one. Model emotional and self-control. Our children and spouse learn from how we handle stress, right? Model emotional self-control. I will tell you again, are we in the sanctuary or we're in the basement? We're in the basement, okay. I'm going to start off today. I've never drank in my life, so I'm not going to say, hi, I'm Pastor Ruben Villarreal, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm not going to say that because I've never drank in my life. But I will say, hi, I'm Pastor Ruben Villarreal, and I have often lost my cool, right, in front of my kids with my wife. Shouldn't say often, but I have, right? I have lost my cool in front of my kids. And Nayeli will tell you, that is the one thing that will break my heart, will tear me up. Like, I'll go to take a shower and just start crying in the shower when I blow up in front of my girls, because I'm modeling something for them. I don't want them to grow up and think that it's okay for, I don't want them to grow up, get married, and think it's okay for their husband to blow up on them, or it's okay for their husband to raise their voice or whatever. Like, I want them to see us as a model and then be like, I want what my parents had, right? And so in that moment of self-control, that is one of the things that helps me, like, go to the other room, or helps me get in my truck and go for a drive, because I want to model something in front of my kids, right? Like, I don't want my kids thinking that it's normal to have a spouse that yells at them. Like, no, I want them to think that that's abnormal, right? Like, the moment they're dating someone and that boy thinks it's okay to raise his voice or try and be manipulative or whatever, I want them to be able to red flag that and say, like, no, not with me, right? Because of what's being modeled at home. I shared in the other services, my mom's not here, but, you know, I grew up like many of you, How many of us grew up in a house where we were spanked? Anybody grew up in a house where you were spanked? Right? Okay. 10 of us. All right, praise the Lord. The rest of y'all be lying like that. Man, we were spanked with a chancla. I've been spanked with a chancla. I've been spanked with the belt. I've been spanked with a hanger. A cable, the cord, like of whatever, was just handy in the moment, right? And okay, so all of y'all raise y'all hand. How many of y'all had the Pastor Ruben experience growing up? Anybody? Am I alone? Oh, we're in the basement. All right. How many of you, when you had kids, that same mom that whooped up on you, no le pegues a los niños. Really? But you have spanked your kids. Why? Because as much as they tell you, no le pegues, my mom's favorite saying is, learn from my mistakes. She always tells us that. I'm like, no, Mom, you're living in a fantasy world. Ain't nobody learning from your mistakes. We're learning from your example, right? Like what you did. We learn a little bit from their mistakes, but we learn from their examples. So in your moment of frustration, you default to what you were taught. And you were taught in my parents' moment of frustration, they spanked us with whatever is handy. Maybe we don't go to that extreme anymore because they'll call CPS on us, right? They'll call the CPA on us, I'm just kidding. And some of y'all got that joke, others didn't. But anyways, but you default to that because that's what you lived. And so in a way, that's what you were taught, right? And so what are you modeling for your kids? Is that what you want your kids? And so we should be the generation that we're constantly changing and improving, right? Changing, modifying, looking at what the Word's teaching us, and we're changing and improving, right? So I think a lot about what do I want? When I think about my sisters, when I think about my daughters married, what do I want? You know what I want? What is that saying? Happily married after, right? How do they say? Is that how they say? How do they say? Happily married. What? Happily ever after? Married, happily ever after, right? There we go. I've got a little, that's Spanglish. It start sneaking in me. That's what I want for my daughters, right? To be married, happily ever after, right? And to live in a Christian home. I'm a believer and I married a believer. I want my daughters to see that model and be like, hey, do you go to church? No, I don't. Cut, right? Balloon popped, right? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? All the young people know what I was talking about, right? Like that. Like that right there alone, cut off. Y'all gonna laugh at what I'm gonna say. But when my daughter's, this guy, he's talking to me. He goes to church, Dad. I'll be like, let's go talk to the pastor. You know what's the number one question I'm gonna ask that pastor? Anybody guess? We're in the basement. What's the number one question you think? What's the first question you think I'll ask the pastor? Huh? Does he go to church? What did you say? Somebody said it over there. Does he tithe? That's the first thing I'll ask that pastor. I'll be like, he says he comes to your church. Yes. Does he tithe? That's the first thing I'll ask the pastor. That says a lot about the character of someone, If the pastor's like, no, I'll be like, Mika, I'm sorry, but he's not for you. We'll change your number tomorrow. We're switching from Verizon to AT&T. We do whatever we need to do, but block them. I'm trying to model something for them, right? I'm trying to model something for them that they're going to be like, this is what a Christian home looks like. This is what it's like being married to a Christian man, right? There's a comedian and he says that he wants his daughters to be like, and my dad, 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 right? And that's what I expect from Rebecca, Raquel, and Ruth, and Rosalinda. When they get older and they get married, everything is going to be like, well, my dad, right? Like my dad did this, my dad did that. My dad wouldn't have done that. My dad, that's what I want. I want to be that annoying to their husbands.